14-hour days.
Real talk. This is why Mark Wahlberg has to wake up at 2:30 in the morning and
take his workout.
And take a shower for an hour and a half. It's important because
he's working out.
He's working out. He's eating his eggs. He's snacking 8 times a day.
He got Octavia Spencer working out.
Yeah, he's
looking out for people's health.
Hey guys.
Hi.
You don't know this, but this is actually the second, third, maybe fourth time we've done this. I don't know.
They are probably not surprised.
Yeah. Hey, I hope you're well. I hope you're good.
Yes. Welcome to Woke with Kids.
Welcome.
Episode
105.
Yeah.
That's a nice. I like numbers like that. 105, easily divisible. They make me feel smart, like I can do things. It is episode 105, and we haven't stopped making podcasts yet. So we hope you're still listening.
Please.
Apparently, from the numbers you are, and we appreciate it.
Very much so.
Yeah, I hope you're. I'm glad you're getting something out of it. We're getting something out of it. We're having a good time. We are a podcast. We're on a lot of places. If you like podcasts, we're on Stitcher. We're on iTunes. We're on
Google Play.
Google Play. We're on Spotify. Spotify is one of my favorites. Everyone loves Spotify.
Yeah.
We're also on YouTube if you care to look us up there. A lot of places you can find us, and we hope you do. And if you do find us and you enjoy us, leave us a review. And leave us a 5-star review if you got the time. I mean, if you're going to do it, don't half-ass it. Leave a review. Tell us what you think of the show.
Please.
And we might mention you on the show. That's kind of a thing that we do. And also, shout out to the Black Guy Who Tips, who just had their first live show. I heard it went fantastically.
Wonderful.
Very, very impressive. Very proud of you guys. Like I birthed you myself. I don't know why pride is the emotion that one applies to a situation like that, but I think that is the word. I am proud of you guys. And yeah, keep on going. Another 100 years. Anything else on your mind, honey, off the top of your head?
No. Let's just get into it. We got some politricking as per usual.
Yes.
We've got a little pop culture. I have a story about being black in a white space that I am looking forward to sharing. You haven't even heard the story yet. So.
Do you want to talk about that first?
Let's jump right in.
Tell me about this story about being in a white space.
So I went to the Hollywood Bowl Sunday evening. My dear friend Electra, who I've known for over 10 years, we had talked about going to see TV on the radio and Grizzly Bear, and tickets were available, and then she offered to pay as an early birthday present. My birthday's coming up in October, so I said, hell yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't have tickets to see Beyonce and Jay-Z at the Rose Bowl, so I figured this will suffice. This will be a good time. Well, I had rehearsal also in Hollywood, literally a mile away from the venue, so after rehearsal, I just stayed up there and read and walked up to the venue early and was waiting for my friend, but it ended up being a 2-hour wait. I just got there hella early.
Damn.
So when I got there was not too many people there, a few groups, small groups of people tailgating or whatever with their rosé and whatnot, some snacks, some food.
Yep.
And I had this grassy area, pretty much a lot of space to myself. There was like 2 other groups, but we had a lot of personal space. And I was laid out on my back reading a book.
Okay.
With my bags as a pillow. So maybe an hour into it, more people started to show up, and a group of white people showed up to one side of me that was previously empty, and they spread out their blankets and whatnot, but it was a largish group, and I didn't realize how large at the time, but I just knew that the 3 or 4 people that were there set up the blanket and sat their asses down literally less than 6 inches from my body, my head, my face, me. And I thought, that's weird, because there is more room, or at the very least be like, sorry, excuse me, or I know this is really out of line because you're already here, but maybe would you mind moving over? Nothing. So it was getting uncomfortable, and I thought, okay, you know what, there's a lot of room to me on the other side. I'm just going to move over. No big whoop.
Right.
So I move over, I shift over, because there's still quite a bit of space. And now I have, again, reestablished a comfortable amount of personal space around my body. Well, it's the second, within 30 seconds or less of that additional room being created, they spread out another blanket and were like, oh, look, more room. And literally, asses were in my face immediately again. And I thought, what the fuck? Like, just what the fuck? I moved over to have space, and here you are filling it up again. Again, with no word.
Colonizing.
Not at all an acknowledgement that a person was there and that you were infringing on our personal space or asking, sorry, do you mind moving over, or excuse me? Nothing. They just sat more asses as close to my face as ever. So I had a moment, more people were there, it was getting less spacious, and I thought, this is getting kind of ridiculous. I'm here. Clearly, I'm here. Now, do I confront them and kind of be angry black woman? There's no black people around. I mean, TV on the radio is primarily a band made up of black people.
Sure.
But their audience and their fan base does not reflect that.
Correct.
And Grizzly Bear, I would venture to say that many black people have never heard of them.
Yes,
so
I would go that far.
I had been looking and not seen more than 5 black people in the hour that I had been there. So I was like, this is an awkward situation. I'm kind of isolated here in terms of my identity and me advocating for myself. So even though my frustration was rising, I just moved over again. And I just thought, this is outrageous. I shouldn't have to do this. And as they basically were about to fill up more space, a group of people on the other side of me, 2 white people and maybe 3 white people, all I hear, and I'm not even looking at them, I'm just trying to look at my book, and I hear to my side, do you want a beer? And before I even looked, I said, really? And I turned and I was just like, thank you. And I took that beer. I wasn't even going to drink that night because my friend is sober and I've been cutting down on drinking anyway. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to enjoy the show and not even drink. But I could feel the tension rising in my body. So when someone said, it was like a voice from heaven talking about, do you want a beer? I was just like, thank you, God. So I get the beer and they were like, yeah, we just feel for you because they're looking at the situation, dumbfounded. Like they couldn't believe, they saw what had happened to me. And the white male, one of the white people, a male, said, I haven't seen a better example of colonizing. Like, I've never seen a better example of colonizing.
There it is.
And I was like, yo,
manifest destiny.
Dude, I said, yo, it really like warms my heart that you see it and acknowledge it, because otherwise I would be here tripping. Like, am I tripping?
Right.
Or did they just fucking like take this space like I wasn't even here?
Yes.
Like they had some right to it.
Yes. And
I want to shout out Jordan Peele in the film Get Out, because I feel like since that movie, black people's quote unquote paranoia is now justified. It's not paranoia.
Yeah, yeah.
And now the white people know. Some white people see that. When their black friends would be like, yo, I had this weird experience. And they'd be like, oh, that's weird. And basically not really believe it. Now motherfuckers is seeing it. They saw it.
Yes. Don't you feel I feel like that is a manifestation of sort of the generational shift that has occurred since black people have sort of experienced physical freedom. Like there's this great meme that goes around on the social media nets that's kind of like this speedometer from red to green.
I love that one.
That shows how long black people
basically slavery lasted from 1619 to 1865,
200
which is
years.
over 200 years.
Yes.
Then you had segregation from 1865 to like 1954, which was the beginning of the civil rights movement.
That's right.
And then you see up to like 2018 how long black people have been quote unquote free and have equal rights.
Yes.
And it's significantly less than the time that they were either in slavery or disenfranchised by segregation.
That's right. And now you're seeing a generation of not just a generation of black creators, but a generation of white people who have been nurtured on black creators and who now have acquired the language, honestly, the language and the idiom to at least have a conversation about their privilege. I think that's the sort of the meta narrative underneath this whole woke white people and everybody woke now, all this kind of stuff, is it's all been this slow dissemination of of sort of a narrative that people that is validated through experience, not just lived experience, but now they've got all the studies, they've got the statistics, they've got all the things that have traditionally backed up white people in their justification for why they can't do the right thing and got to do the thing that they don't want to do, but they got to do it. Well, now all of that language points towards, fair play, expansion of universal human dignity, expansion of healthcare, all those kind of things. And they're like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. We were just playing. We were just joking.
Yeah, it was great. I haven't felt like that in a minute.
I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but I'm glad that you got the validation. Ended on an
up note.
Yeah, I'm glad you got the validation.
End all bad or poorly, and it actually did end positively in that sense, where it opened up a window for true human connection.
Yeah,
and I'm grateful for that, and that gives me hope.
That's what it's about.
And then when they were leaving, I just, we had already cheersed, and we didn't even share names. We didn't take a picture for the gram, and
that's what counts for genuine these days. If you don't film it,
basically, and I just said again, thank you, because I was getting really angry.
Yeah,
and it possibly could have been a confrontation. Who knows? I mean, depending on, I'd already been having kind of a rough day at that point. Shit, who knows if I had really just let all of my anger out, I could have got kicked out before my friend even got there and missed the whole damn show. That Melissa's still alive.
Yes.
And it's like, Black people, we're angry.
That's right.
When it's repetitive, this kind of repetitive bullshit.
Well, it's like Baldwin said.
It explodes.
It's like Baldwin said, to be, I'm
Black and
paraphrasing.
conscious in America is to be in a constant state of rage.
That's right.
I'm paraphrasing as well. I completely agree. So, yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to the white folks who gave me a beer.
Yeah, man.
Grizzly Bear.
Shout out to the alley. Shout out to the allies. Sorry, the allies. The allies and the alleys. Shout out to the allies and the alleys.
So, but the show was good. I have to say, TV and the radio. I mean, I wish more people were into them. And Grizzly Bear was actually quite wonderful. Yeah. It was crazy, too, because I thought TV on the radio was the headliner. Mm-hmm. And then they came out. Me and Electra were still outside talking. We're like, wait, is the show going? We're like, what the fuck? So we had to run in, and Grizzly Bear was the headliner, and I was like, oh, that's weird, but, compared to, relative to how the industry works.
They are the whiter band.
TV on the Radio doesn't even have a recent album or a new album, and Grizzly Bear did release something this year.
Yeah.
Either way, it was lovely.
Although, shout out to Grizzly Bear for having TV on the Radio open for you. That's pretty great.
It was good. It was a good show.
I'm going to try something different. Let's do the shout outs first. First up.
I like it.
Shout out to what is the White Pants Society. Shout out to B Mills. Shout out to Just Say Words podcast, who I did reach out to, and we're going to have on the podcast very soon. Can't wait. Crystal Clear.
I love this Avatar girl.
Yeah, we're definitely going to reach out to you and have you on the podcast soon. I can't wait. Two Awkward Millennials.
Hey.
Al Diddy, of course, my partner in crime with We Come From Bad News. Logical Nonsense podcast and the Two Squares podcast. Thank you so much, guys.
Stay reposting. That's really, I appreciate that.
I really do. And also want to give a shout out to the Tactless Know-It-Alls podcast, who we will have on the podcast soon as well. We had a blast with them on the We Come From Bad News podcast, and I can't wait to get them in a couples dynamic. They are a ton of fun. Okay. Sorry. I was getting my game show announcer voice on. I didn't even mean to.
You're Steve Harvey.
Yeah, I hope it sounded that black. Okay, so we got to talk about politicking, Trump be trumping, or what my new term for it, head ass news. Because this news is just I don't even know what to make of it anymore.
Where do we start?
Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh.
Fuck this motherfucker.
Is President Trump's nominee for Supreme Court Justice. Things were going swimmingly for the Cav. He was acing all of his exams. He was answering none of the pertinent questions. He was throwing up deflections for Kamala Harris. Harris, thank you. And then it came out. You know it came out. You know what gets them. You know what gets these white heterosexual men. You know what it is. Me Too. Me Too came out. What's the woman's name? Do you know?
I was trying to look it up. I want to say Geraldine, but I wish I just had it.
I have it somewhere in here. It shouldn't just be on you. Christine Blasey Ford is one of them, right? And Deborah Ramirez. Does these ring bells? That's what I believe the names are.
Yep, Deborah.
Yeah.
What did I say? Geraldine? Damn.
Yeah, that's why I was confused. I was like, I just want to make sure that I'm not reading this wrong.
We know Christine Blasey.
Yes.
Blasey. I'm just kidding.
Blasey Ford and
okay, Deborah Ramirez.
Ramirez.
Yeah, so I mean, Professor Ford's accusations were from when they were in high school, but Ramirez is like from college. And I heard that there was a whole like email thread of Yale alumni who knew about this situation going around like, ooh, when this shit gonna come out? You didn't read about it?
No, I did. Of course, I've read it. I've read all things.
So,
I'm just giving some
more and more as
giving
days
some
go by. It is it's credible.
Yeah. No,
maybe not quite at this point that I've read as credible as Professor Blasey Ford's allegations.
Yes.
But it's credible.
Well, there's a lot of things that are just sort of swirling around. First of all, there's just sort of the overall variance in the way Kavanaugh has portrayed his youth. Sometimes he's a choir boy, sometimes he's a rake, as they say. Sometimes he's sometimes he's dashing, sometimes he's reserved. Anyways, what has emerged from his testimony is that Kavanaugh is very good at dissembling. That's not lying, but it is portraying facts in a way to skew the perception of what really happened. He's good at that. Also, there's this talk about, in the yearbooks from his high school days of being a part of the Renate alumni, and Renate, and I might pronounce that incorrectly, was this woman, this girl who attended the girls' college that was across the street, and to be part of this Renate alumni, not to spell it out, not to get too literal with you, but they were talking about banging her. They were saying they were banging her. It was like
Whoa, sorry.
That's all right. So, what are you looking up anyway?
Everything.
Okay. So, so there's a lot of things swirling around it, and it's enough, I think, at least to warrant what is Miss Blasey's. I'm sorry, you got that in my head now.
Ford.
Professor Ford. Miss Ford's request that the FBI at least investigate.
And I've read
what's going on.
The FBI investigated Professor Anita Hill's allegations
of course they did.
At that time.
Of course they did.
The Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas. So
That's right.
Why would this white man get any less?
Well,
it's y'all motherfucking rules.
Well, look, the reason is, and this is what always gets us as black people, is that the reason it's so many synchronicities right now. First of all, Bill Cosby just got sentenced
3 to 10 years.
3 to 10 years in real prison, like real state, actual, not federal, golf court tennis prison, like for real state ass prison. And Harvey Weinstein is still free
as of now.
But as of right now, Donald Trump is still president.
Well, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, there is a dramatic difference in the way that, or for that matter, Clarence Thomas, who is black, despite all judicial evidence to the contrary, they investigated the shit out of his ass and this black woman for accusing him before they eventually did confirm him. But now with Brett Kavanaugh, because he's got the perfect Federalist Society, bona fides, and he went to Yale, and he was the right clerk for this guy and that guy, comes from the right family, comes from the right name, all this kind of thing, this aristocratic nonsense. Now we can overlook all this shit. We can put him on the fast track. We can expedite this because we absolutely want this guy in here.
Well,
this
finally, that's being slowed down. They're
Thank God.
coming up the works. Even some of the white people. Who did you tell me? What group?
Oh yeah, there's a. I hope I can find it. I think I put it under yes y'all actually. A Muslim. That's not right.
Oh my God.
That's not right.
No.
Definitely not the Muslims. A Mormon women's group, the Mormon Women for Ethical Government, called for a suspension of Judge Kavanaugh's confirmation proceedings pending a thorough investigation.
And that's what at least we're saying. Do a thorough investigation by the FBI because he's being appointed to one of the highest government positions. So why not have our highest government legal or justice organization essentially be the one to lead the investigation? And all of these accusations, I think, by nature of it being a nomination to the highest court in our country, even so many allegations needs to give everyone pause because there are, in theory and in reality, more nominees that could be, put up for review rather than trying to force this guy that is so mired now in questioning.
Yeah, absolutely.
His character. In addition to the areas in which we feel that he is clearly biased in his rulings and or has withheld information, if not straight lied, on towards some of his questions that have come up in the committee hearings. It's like, hello, Merrick Garland.
Absolutely,
Hello?
absolutely. And let's not forget why Trump wants Kavanaugh so badly.
Right, he's cool.
Kavanaugh, he's cool with unlimited executive power.
And the executives can never be charged.
Cannot be charged in office. He stands for a lot of strange things. He also stands for foreign governments being able to fund super PACs.
And women's rights will be in question.
And abortion. And abortion. And abortion. And abortion. I mean, all bad. So, and look, and it's not that I'm naive. Even if you get rid of Kavanaugh, they've got a list of assholes.
Exactly.
Right behind him. But we're saying that if you're going to put an asshole in there, at the very least, let it be someone who didn't rape someone.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Correct. No, that's it. That's exactly it. Fine. You don't want to send some of these people to jail. I mean, there's many fights to fight. But in terms of appointing him to a lifetime position on the highest court in the land, that's a hell no.
Hell no.
That's a hell motherfucking no. I love this meme that was going around. It says, men report sexual assault by priests 30 years later equals public outrage. Women report sexual assault 30 years later equals public doubt.
Good point. Good juxtaposition.
That was true.
Good contrast. Good contrast.
And I also loved that Marianne Williamson, the great, spiritual writer, speaker, posted, Bill Cosby's mugshot, which is very sad. And she talks about when the Israelites got to the other side of the sea, when God parted the Red Sea through the waters, and the Egyptian soldiers who followed them drowned. When the seas came back together and the newly freed Jews began to dance and sing, and God commanded them to stop, saying that we were never to celebrate the destruction of any man, even if that destruction was necessary. She says, that's what I thought about today looking at the mugshot of Bill Cosby. Same reason she didn't hoop and holler when they killed bin Laden. Justice needs to be wielded, but it should be wielded with deep sobriety and a sense of somber responsibility, not only to the law, but to a higher law as well. Justice, yes. A sense of revenge, no. Otherwise, we will recreate the conditions by which injustice occurred to begin with. The only reason to clean up the past is to create the space for new beginnings, and the only way there's space for new beginnings is if our hearts are purified. We need to hold sexual predators accountable, and for that reason, I'm glad Bill Cosby received a prison sentence. But can I laugh as I look at that picture? No. The tragedy is too great. Whenever any life is destroyed, whether by a predator or by oneself, in the final analysis, it isn't just about who they are, it's about who we are too. And that's a very complex.
That's a very complex and nuanced feeling, And a lot of people
can't exist at the same time.
And many more things within there. So many grooves and fissures and nuances and edges and facets to that feeling and emotion and that tapestry. And it's a shame that a lot of people will reduce it to any compassion for the convicted is either support for rape or that any feeling of vindication at having this man finally behind bars and finally some sort of tangible recompense for other people's suffering, that feeling that vindication does not make them a horrible person. It doesn't make them a bloodthirsty person or whatever. You can feel some satisfaction. You can feel some satisfaction.
And
we're just saying,
hope that the same comes for Harvey Weinstein. I was thrilled to hear that Brock Turner, the rapist who attended Stanford, first of all, they voted out the judge who gave him such a light sentence in this recent primary election in that district. And secondly, his appeal was denied.
Well, I would really welcome that, because for me, it would be a shame to stain what I think is, it would be a shame if Me Too became a vehicle for merely racist prosecution.
Completely. And
that
again,
would be a shame.
The original Me Too mission was never to focus on convictions and the perpetrators.
Right. It was in support
the victims.
Yes.
So, and then it's important because I just read about a motherfucker in Alaska who kidnapped a Native American woman, choked her out till she went unconscious, and then raped her, and he just got probation. And the judge was like, basically, this is his one pass. It's bad because he's losing his job and he has to live with his parents on house arrest. So that's still passing for justice in this country. So, if you try to get to the highest court of this land, you're going to get some pushback if you've been attacking and assaulting.
Especially nowadays, because it's women aren't going back in the kitchen.
We're finally talking about
That's
it.
not happening.
We're finally talking about it.
Yeah. So if you live in Washington, Alaska, if you live in Alaska, if you listen to this podcast and you're in Alaska, I need you to get at your Senator Murkowski, okay?
Oh, Lisa?
Yeah, you need to get at Lisa. You need to tell her how you feel about predatory, toxic masculinity. You need to talk to her about rape culture. You need to tell her that she's validated and that her suspicions are correct and that this dude is bad news, and that y'all would appreciate if she would just represent your interests. I just want to just put that out there. If we have anybody in Alaska who's listening, and you might be. Let's move on to some lighter news. Unfortunately,
Trump got laughed at the UN.
Trump got laughed at.
This motherfucker tried to go in front of world leaders and say that in the last 2 years, his administration had done almost more than any other administration had done in the U.S. And then when everyone started to chuckle, he said, so true, so true. So then they really laughed out loud. Yeah. And he said, well, that's not the reaction I was expecting, but okay. I mean, this is the thing. When he did that with his hair and his orange face, I get it. God. I see why motherfuckers like Trump. The motherfucker's charming. He's charming. God. That's all he got.
He doesn't.
It was charming. It was charming for him to be like, I know I'm full of shit, and y'all know I know that you know. But let's just keep it moving. Let's keep it pushing.
He doesn't.
Let's make this money. Let's keep it pushing and make this money.
He doesn't care. But,
if he continued to live his life in a way that didn't directly affect so many hundreds of thousands of people in their life,
where his bigotry and sexism could not directly, yes,
I would be like, whatever. I just won't watch the show.
1000%.
But at this level, it's like, no, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So yeah, Trump be trumping.
Trump be Trump in. So China rejected a U.S. warship visit to Hong Kong because, they hate us. because of the tariffs, the $2 billion in tariffs. So when your Walmart
crap,
all your shit that you bought, when this Christmas sucks because you can't afford to buy Junior a $300 goddamn transformer because China's got $200 billion of tariffs on consumer goods. Yeah, thank you, President. Merry Christmas. Buck 98 store doesn't sound that good, does it? It just doesn't. But that's what we're looking at, guys. You know why? Because trade wars are easy to win. Super easy. You know what the Chinese are saying? You know what the Chinese think when they come over to New York and take a tour? They're like, wow, where are all the buildings? That's what they think. Because I don't know if you guys know it or not, China is booming. China's booming so hard that they're in Africa building roads. Africa! African people are learning to speak Chinese, y'all. Do you see what I'm trying to tell you? We're not at the center of the world. Okay? Anyway.
Just to kind of run down some pop culture real quick, like.
Is it pop culture time? Okay.
I don't know. What else are we on?
I mean, we're still talking, you know.
Okay, then go.
I don't know. No, it's mostly Rod Rosenstein.
Right
yeah, we talk about
it. So was it yesterday?
Maybe the day before yesterday. Yeah, Monday.
Said that Rod Rosenstein, the acting attorney general of the Justice Department, who oversees the Mueller
was out
investigation of whether or not Trump and the campaign colluded with Russia to win the 2016 presidential election, was about to get fired,
gone.
Because a New York Times article come out that said he was saying things like, we should tape that motherfucker Trump, so when he says some crazy shit, we can use it to impeach his ass under the 25th Amendment. Yeah.
Well, no, 25th Amendment isn't impeachment. It's worse. It's declaring the president is incompetent. Is incompetent to fulfill his duties. It's basically lost his mind.
I felt like that nigga could have said that, but he said he didn't say it. Or he said
he said
legalese,
it. He said
it. The legalese was like, I didn't direct nobody to do it.
No. He said it. What was
the legalese?
It's not even legalese. The story is that he was joking. He was being sarcastic. It's his story. Now, however you want to read it, I can see it both ways. I can see him definitively it being a joke and him having no intention of ever doing it, but also at the same time being serious as a motherfucker.
This is the acting deputy attorney general. This is what it was. He said it as a joke, but he gave a little bit of a look that was like, if any of y'all motherfuckers is serious, look, I'm with you.
It's like Kanye West. He is like, look, I'm just kidding unless you're going to do it.
Exactly.
Unless you're going to do it.
And then it said, he was going to resign. And there was all this talk about whether or not how he was ousted, because if he resigns, then there's a longer process for finding the new acting attorney general.
Yeah.
Trump couldn't just appoint someone and essentially appoint someone who would immediately cancel the Mueller investigation.
Exactly.
So, but turns out, motherfucker still got a job.
He still ain't fired, and he's still not fired.
I mean,
as of now, still
Trump
not fired.
likes to do that shit on a Friday. Have you noticed?
Everyone. Although
everybody gets fired on a Friday or Thursday, I feel like
that's when you're supposed to get fired. It's actually bad practice to fire on a Friday, because then the person has all weekend to do nothing but stew and can't look for another job. You're supposed to fire them early in the week or at least by Thursday. Tuesday is optimal. Because that leaves enough time for them to start looking for another job right a fucking way, and that gives them anyways. There are best practices around these things. Trump is not.
Are you speaking from experience?
I've been fired every possible way you could be fired, and I've quit in every way you can quit. So
so we'll see what happens come Thursday, Friday. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I don't know. There's a lot of other shit happening in the world, but I don't know. Ethiopia and Eritrea are basically.
I love that you bring that up every week.
Yeah, because every week there's like some Al Jazeera articles, it's
kind of a big deal. They're like cousins.
They're literally
like cousins have been beefing for decades.
In the African Student Union, I defy anyone to be able to tell the difference between the Eritreans and the Ethiopians. Okay, they would get so goddamn mad, and I'd be like, if y'all motherfucker, it'd be like North Koreans and South Koreans being like, don't you confuse me with no South Korean. It's like, look, y'all, I'm sorry, y'all come from the same place and look exactly the same. I don't know what to tell you.
It's a beautiful thing. We can talk about it every week.
It's wonderful.
I just wanted to run down some pop culture, some black arts information. One thing that I have been meaning to bring up for like the last 2-3 episodes, and I have forgotten, is that John Legend became an EGOT.
True.
Which stands for an artist who has won an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony. And it's a very elite group because not many people do art in all of those genres, Broadway, TV, film, and music, in order to win an award at the highest level of each of those industries. So he becomes the first black man. There is a black woman, Whoopi Goldberg, who has been an EGOT for quite some time. As is Rita Moreno. I just want to shout her out because she's a woman of color.
That's dope.
So he did that. He did the damn thing. And I just want to shout him out. I've been meaning to mention that for a while. Also, if you watch the Emmys, I didn't really watch it. And a lot of some black people didn't win. Like Issa Rae didn't win nothing. Atlanta didn't win. Tracee Ellis Ross didn't win. But Samira Wiley did win for best maybe supporting actress in a drama for The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
Mora, she's wonderful.
Okay.
Also, two of my faves, Tandy Newton won best actress, lead actress in a drama for Westworld. She killed that season of Westworld. I mean, the whole season basically was excellent because of her and her arc and her acting.
Yep.
So that was so well deserved. Sorry, Carrie Russell, for The Americans. I feel like when you have a show for 8 years, maybe they should throw you something, but it just didn't happen. Then her dude won, her husband in real life and co-star in the show, won for best actor, but whatever. And then Regina King won another motherfucking Emmy 3 years in a row. I believe it's best actress in like a mini series or special limited edition series. She won for 7 Seconds, which I haven't even watched, but I know she is just an amazing talent. She's fantastic. Did you know on the Boondocks, she did the voice for Huey and Riley?
I did.
I forgot.
I did know that.
She's been working since she was a teenager. Remember, y'all remember 227? Am I dating myself? 227. So, shout out to Regina King and her immense talent. Shout out to Tandy Newton. Shout out to Samira Wiley. Shout out to any other person of color who won some shit with the Emmys. And I wanted to point out also that Jennifer Lewis, on her red carpet look, wore head-to-toe Nike.
That's right. She did.
And I thought that was beautiful because she said, I wanted to wear something that had a message. And she says, I'm wearing Nike in support of them supporting Colin Kaepernick and his stance of kneeling during the national anthem to protest institutional racism and systemic injustice, and particularly police brutality that goes unchecked in America against black and brown people. So shout out to Jennifer Lewis, auntie of Hollywood. I love it. She has so much wisdom that she freely imparts. I mean, she is a treasure.
I love it.
Really
I mean, there's definitely some conversation about the fact that Nike is getting it both ways by being a sponsor of the NFL and addition. But look, Colin Kaepernick himself wants to play in the NFL. There are some teams that are expressing some interest finally. I would love to see him suit up and be able to get concussions like all the rest of the guys.
It's an American story.
That's right. And I feel like Nike has a big part of telling that story, and that was the point of it. And
shout out to Nike because they have, I think it's Odell Beckham.
Yep,
is that his name?
That's his name.
He's in a campaign. Of course, LeBron James, Serena Williams. So
they're consistent. They're consistent.
Not focused solely on Kaepernick, but in terms of their theme and their branding right now is very consistent, and it's on the right side of history.
Yes.
So if I spent money on shit like that, I would throw it Nike's way.
That's right. Not to backtrack on that great news, but there's a 40% chance you will get away with murder in America.
I guess we're catching hell again.
Still catching hell, honey. We can jump along. We can jump around.
I think it's so appropriate to mix it in because that's like real life.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, 40%. What the fuck did the police do?
That's crazy.
40%?
Did they break that down by race or gender? Or?
No, it is not. Unfortunately, The police solve rate
for
is
murder.
Yes.
The clearance rate is 61.6%. That's way high.
Yes.
For aggravated assault, that's like what if you beat somebody
Well,
down.
wait. So understand what it means. Clearance rate means that's how many they solve. So
And
they're
you get
solving
off?
they're solving 61%, but that leaves 40% of the crimes
Wow.
that they are not solving. That is why the headline is saying
Whoa.
you have a 40% chance to get away with murder.
Oh my god!
Do you understand now? That's fucking crazy.
Aggravated assault 53.3%, and
That means there's a 50% chance you will get away with aggravated assault.
that's like beating somebody down, sending them to the hospital.
Boom.
And then we got rape. 34.5%. And we wonder why motherfuckers are still on the fence about whether or not to, officially at the federal level investigate these Kavanaugh allegations, and why people are still standing for Bill Cosby getting 3 to 10 years. And why this motherfucker in Alaska got probation. Wow.
Okay, so there's some racial
disheartening.
There is some racial analysis.
Okay,
and shout out to Vox for providing all this good information. What's worse is these numbers only tell part of the story. In some communities, the murder clearance rates, for example, drop even lower. Wesley Lowry, Kimberly O'Kelly, Stephen Rich recently reported on the disparity for the Washington Post. In an analysis of killings over the past decade in 52 of the U.S. largest cities, the Post found that black victims, who accounted for the majority of homicides, were the least likely of any racial group to have their killings result in an arrest.
Oh my God.
While police arrested someone in 63% of the killings of white victims, they did so in just 47% of those with black victims.
God forbid. I would hate to hear the number for black female victims.
Or black trans or something.
Oh man, it's like 2%.
Yeah, like what? They died. Fuck them. Who cares?
That's the paperwork that perpetually gets lost.
What do the police do?
You wonder why people are upset, or people want to march, or people want to walk out.
Look, at least
people are dying. Nothing's happening.
At least the soldiers are winning the war. It took them 15 years, but they're goddamn killing Al Qaeda and the Taliban to fuck up. And what the police, every show is look, I don't have any police relatives. I don't give a fuck. Every show is about police. Even the good fantasy shows are all about goddamn fantasy police cops. We worship police so much in this country.
We worship law enforcement and the law and the versus the outlaw.
Yes, but when we're looking,
mythology.
but what we're looking at is in terms of the police. You're right. It is mythology because clearly the reality ain't living up. If you call the police right, it said 20% clearance rate for property crimes. Do you know what that means? That means don't bother. That means don't waste
really
your goddamn time.
For anybody.
Oh my God, man, that's unbelievable.
Because we all know mostly white people own shit.
I mean,
it's not black people.
Exactly.
So if they're not even
protecting
20%,
you people. They're not even protecting you people.
Okay, so this isn't really like yes, y'all, but it definitely deserves time on our podcast. The great Arthur Mitchell has passed away this week. He was the first African American lead principal dancer for the New York City Ballet. Balanchine put a ballet on him, Agon, and it was one of the first to really feature a black male ballet dancer partnered with a white woman and showcased his immense ability. And then he also, particularly during the civil rights movement and seeing how much black people were disenfranchised, in his way and what he was passionate about, he opened up the Dance Theater of Harlem to extend the knowledge and passion for classical ballet and the art form that he had towards black and brown children. And that company is still going, and it's one of the only places outside of the Alvin Ailey who, also incorporates like modern and contemporary dance. But at that time, it was the only place where black people could do ballet. Even if they had learned as a child in order to advance and elevate to the next levels, there was no professional ballet company in the United States that was going to hire you.
Right.
And so he gave so many people a chance to showcase their talent and to broaden all of our, of any color, our hearts and our minds about what art could do. And so, he recently passed, and it is a great loss, not only to the dance community or to the African American community, but just to humanity. This is a great, great talent and beautiful soul who shared his passion and enriched all of our lives. And me, I love my classical ballet. Yeah. And a person I know who, two things. Her name is Melissa Hazlip. She recently directed a documentary called Mr. Soul, the movie, about, I think it was an uncle who had a show in the vein of Soul Train, Don Cornelius' Soul Train, but it was called Mr. Soul, and he would interview artists, and I believe he was a queer black man in the 60s, and she just did a documentary. It's on the festival circuit. It's winning awards. But she posted upon the passing of Arthur Mitchell that she danced with him, and she studied at the Dance Theater of Harlem, particularly because after doing the summer program at the School of American Ballet that kind of basically moves people into the American Ballet Theater Company, they wouldn't take her because she was black. So we'll train you and we see all your talent and all of your potential, but we're not going to help you no further. And so she got a chance to continue her dancing at that time because of Arthur Mitchell. And that's one person that I know. Imagine all of the hundreds of others people who got a chance or whose lives were opened and shaped and broadened by this man. And he has a great legacy. So
it's phenomenal. Well, speaking of, check out this segue. Speaking of support for black people in the arts, Kevin Hart is a huge supporter of black women, specifically Tiffany Haddish. And he stepped into the fray when recently Cat Williams.
Yeah, why was he talking shit?
Cause he's Cat Williams, he kind of take the.
What did he say, that she wasn't really a comedian?
But he said she didn't have the track record. She said he didn't say she wasn't funny. He just said that she didn't have the track record, that she didn't have any real specials. You couldn't name no Tiffany Haddish jokes.
And that's why she wasn't deserving of her award?
I don't even know if he said that. I think he was just making a general point about, like, that's why he the best comedian in the world.
I mean, I hear what he's saying, but there's several black comedians or female comedians who have not maybe gotten their due.
Well, I mean, I think
have merely just paved the way for people who came after them.
Well, Tiffany Haddish also, he's full of shit, because Tiffany Haddish has been around for like almost 20 years working on her craft. She was on Def Comedy Jam.
I remember her as a young, early 20-something, hearing her little 5 minutes or whatever they get on Def Comedy. She's
been around for a long time, and she's done everything she needs to do to get where she is, and she deserves every bit of it. And Cat Williams is just a bitter old drug addict.
But then he was talking about, I own all my specials and I get all that money. So it's like, why are you mad then?
Because he's a bitter old drug addict.
Why are you mad?
He's a very talented, bitter old drug addict.
And didn't he win an Emmy for
He won an Emmy. And guess what? And of course he apologized. He apologized to her at the Emmys, and they have since made up, and they're fine.
Yeah, he was in his feelings.
But Kevin Hart, But Kevin Hart, in his defense, I guess, of Tiffany, somehow ran afoul of Leslie Jones.
Well, they all know each other.
And I guess Hart was taking credit essentially for putting Leslie Jones on, and as he was defending Tiffany Haddish, she was saying how Cat Williams didn't put anybody on. He didn't put any of his people on, and that Kevin Hart put all his people on, including Tiffany. And Leslie Jones, was somehow one of these people. And Leslie came out to vociferously and vigorously remind people, nah.
She been putting in the work.
And also, if any black man was responsible for putting her on, it was Chris Rock.
I was about to say Chris Rock. Got her the writing gig or whatever.
Thank you. At SNL.
Yeah, that's weird. Why would Kevin Hart
say that?
Like, I had never heard that before.
I mean, I love Kevin Hart, but sometimes fame is a hell of a drug.
Exactly.
That's all I can say.
The end. Yep. Basically.
Did you hear that Michael Avenatti said he had more proof that there were other people that had participated in this gang rape by Kavanaugh? Not to go back on Kavanaugh,
but I did not. I'm not sure who Michael Avenatti is.
He's the guy that represented Stormy Daniels.
Oh, I did hear he was getting into the fray. He's like the Gloria Allred.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. He wants to run for president. He's a weird, interesting guy.
I think he's trying to make a lot of money.
Definitely that. 1,000% that. What else is going on?
Okay, I did have the Cat Williams thing, so let me take that off.
I'm moving to yes, y'all. I'm tired of catching
one more
hell.
thing. One more catching hell, but I guess it's good.
What?
The Dallas police chief, Renee Hall, finally
That's in my
fired
y'all.
Officer Amber Geiger, the woman who killed Botham Jean in his own apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I'm really glad to hear that, because for like a good 2 weeks, she was like, well, we can't actually fire her because there are rules and regulations.
Right. And when we say she, it was the black police chief. The black woman.
Renee Hall.
Yeah.
It seemed like she was hemming and hawing about firing her pending this investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So I was mildly relieved that, whatever the rules were and the processes, I don't really believe in that much of that. I don't hold much faith in any of that. But even through going through that bullshit system, they decided, we need to fire her. Because up until this point, she was on paid leave.
Right.
Getting her benefits.
Getting money. Seeing a doctor.
I don't know what the latest is with her charges of manslaughter. But the bitch needs to go on trial.
At least she's not making any more money.
The bitch needs to go on trial.
Yeah,
and she certainly should not be getting paid by the state of Texas.
No, she should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. She basically murdered her ex-boyfriend. We all see it. We all know what happened. This next story is my first yes, y'all. And it's kind of interesting. I read Breitbart News, not because I agree with anything they say. Guys, don't trip. But I think you must know the enemy in order to understand the enemy. So I read Breitbart, I read Fox, I try to keep up with whatever the fuck the incels are talking about and the kind of thing. You got to look into the dark side. You can't, it's like, you got to peek.
You got to know the light and the dark. Look at your shadow side.
You got to look at your shadow.
The rock.
Otherwise, how do you really know what you're fighting? Really? So this article actually comes to me from Breitbart News, but it's funny because, of course, they hate this. But to me, I'm like, this is wonderful. But a pro-abortion, their headline, this is what it reads: pro-abortion groups successfully push comprehensive sex ed onto California charter schools.
I did read that. I was like, hell yeah.
We
want our kids to know the truth
about
what's really out there and what all the options are, so that they don't get not hemmed up talking about, I didn't know.
I'm tripping that this shit is written. This is literally written as like some sort of alarmist, declaratory.
There are a lot of states at the state level that are pushing abstinence-only sex education.
Yes.
And so this is a big deal. And because charter schools are not fully under the rules and regulations of the state, they are able to craft some of their own curriculum and ways of ruling their schools. And so this is one time where I am happy that my son goes to a charter school.
Word. Here's another great one. All right, guys, are you ready? Violent crime.
Wait, sorry, just one caveat or one add-on.
Yeah.
That does not replace the parental responsibility to be the primary educator of sexual education to your children.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
I mean, really, though. I would hope that goes without saying.
Yeah.
Teach your boys not to rape, not just tell your girls to keep their legs closed and all that bullshit. Teach all your children, whatever gender they may identify with, about respecting one another, about consent, about protection. I mean, really, y'all. My kid is still, thankfully, a little bit young. He's still making weird, annoying noises and not talking about boobs and stuff. So I give thanks every motherfucking day. But I know people have older kids, and you can't be afraid. You have to. Trust me. You don't want them getting their sex ed from their friends or from school where they're leaving out half the information. And you know your child, and you know if you commit to really helping them and guiding them, which is one of our primary responsibilities, you will be there to age appropriately and developmentally give them the information that they need on an ongoing basis and open up those lines of communication so that they always feel comfortable coming to you with their questions and they can make good decisions when you aren't there to tell them what to do. Okay, that's
word.
But am I lying or am I lying?
You're telling
I
the truth.
Panamanian grandma who would always say, "Am I lying or am I lying?"
Stop me when I lie.
Anyway, go ahead with your new one.
This is a wonderful thing. Violent crime in the U.S. has decreased
slightly.
2017, the FBI finds. Violent crime in the United States decreased slightly in 2017. This comes to us from the New York Times, by the way, of which I am a subscriber, a proud subscriber. I pay money for their reporting. The paper of record of the United States. Fuck what the president says. Violent crime in the United States decreased slightly in 2017 after a troubling rise the previous 2 years that became a major talking point in the presidential election. FBI statistics released this week show that the rate of overall violent crime decreased by 0.9%.
Ooh, almost 1%.
Hey, look. Hey, come on,
almost
y'all.
a whole percent, y'all.
That's a lot of individual people that did not get killed by crazy motherfuckers. The rate of property crimes also declined by 3.6%. So people were extra. I'm sorry. Violent crime decreased by 0.9%. The murder rate decreased by 1.4%. Not bad. And the rate of property crimes also declined by 3.6%. Now, that 1.4% may not sound like a lot, but if you listen to audiobooks, think about it. When you listen to something at 1 time speed versus 1.5 speed, which is only 0.1 point higher, it's a lot faster, y'all. That's a lot more dying. That's a lot more dying is all I'm saying. So shout out to everybody for not killing as much in 2017. And I'm just proud of everybody for not killing. It's a great thing when human beings can just be civilized and respect each other as sentient beings. We talked about Mormon people. Oh, this is a good one. This is actually someone I know, an acquaintance of mine, Kenyan director Wanyeri. I don't remember her last name. That's terrible. Wanyeri Kahiu. She made a great film with some lesbian themes. And in Kenya, as in many other African nations, they're not quite as progressive when it comes to LGBTQ depictions. So it looked like for a while her film was not even going to be able to be seen in Kenya. It was censored because it was considered indecent or whatever. Well, her lawyers challenged the ruling, calling it unconstitutional and a violation of her free expression as an artist. And the ban has now been lifted.
Hey.
The film Rafiki is eligible to run in next year's Academy Awards and can be submitted for the Best Foreign Language category. That's the American Academy Awards, by the way. Under the Academy rules, the film must be shown in the country where it was produced for 7 consecutive days to be eligible. So this is a huge thing. And the movie will be shown in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, from September 23rd until September 29th. And it became the first Kenyan film to premiere at Cannes Film Festival early this year. So that's great. I knew her very briefly when she was in film school at UCLA.
Okay.
And and it's so awesome to see her become a bold-faced character.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? It's awesome.
Get it, girl.
Yeah, man. And also shout out to Kenya for having a resilient constitution where your artists can express themselves and, say fuck you to homophobia and censorship. That's fucking awesome. Great on you and the continent. Black billionaire Robert F. Smith just made another $3 billion by selling his cloud service company, Marketo, to Adobe for $4.7 billion.
Go ahead, black billionaire. What's his name?
Robert F. Smith.
Okay.
So, ladies, if he's single, I don't know. You might want to put on your nice dress tonight because he's probably out partying. Good gracious, $3 billion. $3 billion. That's good gracious. Black people out here doing it, y'all. Black people out here doing. What the fuck is this company? I'm sorry, I gotta know. Marketo In May 2016, Vista Equity purchased. Okay, Vista Equity is the private equity firm launched by Black billionaire and engineer Robert F. Smith. It was acquired. He purchased it in 2016 of May 2016 for $1.8 billion. Within 3 years, Marketo's revenue grew over 100 million under his leadership. And now Adobe is incorporating it into its Adobe Experience Cloud. God, have mercy.
That's like next level shit. Like,
that's not basketball, y'all.
Like,
that's not
what?
basketball.
I heard what you said.
Or entertainment.
I don't get it.
How
do you grow a company's revenue by 100 million?
100.
And then, like the idea of buying something for 1.8 billion sounds scary. And then to be like, do that shit, and then make more money, and then sell it,
and then take 3 years to grow it, to sit on that egg for 3 years.
Every year he made a fucking $1 billion.
Yes.
My mind is blown. Go ahead,
y'all.
I hope Langston sticks with that.
Seriously,
shit.
Yo,
I hope he stays with the math and science.
Yo. And
he can make $1 billion.
Oh my God!
In 3 years.
Oh my God!
Oh yeah, Tiger Woods won a golf tournament.
Tiger Woods is back, y'all.
You know what I love about that story? He was seriously injured, and he worked his way back. Yeah, back surgery and this and that, and then they finally like fused some shit together, and he strengthened himself the right way. Had to basically learn some new swings and shit, and came back and killed it.
Old dog learning new tricks. Well, I go back and forth on how much I love Tiger. When he's winning golf games and Ebony's writing about him, I like him. When he's supporting Trump, he's always
kind of dark to be like, oh, I'm not all the way black. Like
this, yes,
you dark-ish.
You not even on the light skin side of the force.
You're too dark to be trying to claim that you're not black,
bro. You're not exactly.
I'm looking at this picture of him right here.
Yes,
Yes,
no, he is.
You're never passing. So
never.
Maybe we should have rethought that.
I mean, we still love you, Tiger. Just stop making excuses for Trump. Okay, just don't do that. Don't say anything about him anymore. Taraji P. Henson launches a Black Mental Health Foundation.
Go ahead, girl.
She's trying to help.
Wonderful.
It's wonderful. She's trying to
really good.
help erase the stigma surrounding Black people and mental health. She's trying to give money and scholarships to people who want to, Black people who want to pursue careers, people of color who want to pursue careers in psychology and in therapy and want to help their communities, because she pointed out she has a son whose father was murdered when he was 9. When she was, was that what it was? No, maybe, I don't know if that's the story.
Her son's father died when he was 9.
When he was 9, right.
And then his grandfather died 2 years later. So this all revealed mental health issues,
yes,
PTSD,
yes,
etc. And she struggled to find a psychiatrist that he could relate to, aka a Black person.
Yes.
So
exactly.
She says it was like looking for a unicorn. And the reason that happens is because we don't talk about it in our community. It's taboo. It's looked upon as a weakness, or we're demonized for expressing rage for traumas we've been through. And, she said specifically that when it wasn't a Black person and someone he felt he could trust, because it looks like his mom, it looks like his grandma, it looked like his auntie, looked like his uncle, looked like his cousin, and someone who could understand his struggle, it was difficult. And she felt they weren't making much progress and getting much accomplished because he would feel guilty for the things he was saying. So I feel her. I feel that.
Word. Well, I'm glad she's putting her money where her mouth is. I think that's dope. Halle Berry and Lena Waithe are executive producing Boomerang reboot. I don't know how I feel about this, because Boomerang is a very important movie to me. I felt a lot of feels to that movie.
I trust Lena, though. I trust Lena.
Yeah.
And I trust Halle.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. I trust Halle sometimes. Halle also did Monsters Ball. She did do that.
I know.
She really did
God.
that. So
I didn't like that movie.
Yeah, that was not the best.
I didn't like her character in that movie. I thought she, as an actor and finding a role and putting it all out there. I do admire her. I can see how I could win an Oscar. But for that story, it's like when Crash won. I'm like, that's the story we're celebrating? With Monsters Ball and her character, I was like, that's the character? This is the black woman whose story is like the best told ever this year?
Yeah.
You know, it happens. I mean, what you gonna do? That's white people voting on shit, so.
In California, in local news, home cooks can now sell their food in California, which is
awesome.
super important because I've been making this incredible catfish lately.
Oh my God, it's so good, y'all. I didn't even think I liked catfish. I didn't grow up eating it. I would have never been like, you know what I want tonight? Some catfish. Like, never, ever, ever, ever. Like, I'm Jamaican. That's just not, it's not how we cook the fish.
It's not how they cook the fish, but that is how I cook the fish.
It's
and
delicious.
I don't even cook it the way that I was raised cooking it. I use olive oil. It's a very specific way I do it. I won't tell you it about it now, but it's delicious.
It's good. You need to come up with a good slogan that we can like put on some shit.
Yes. So I think that's great. Also, PayPal cuts off Alex Jones in an ongoing increasing isolation and embargo of that guy. If you don't know who Alex Jones is, he peddles conspiracy theories, a lot of crazy stuff. Look him up. You'll enjoy. You'll laugh. You'll have a chuckle. Anyways, he's been cut off on Twitter. He's been cut off on Facebook and now PayPal as well. So that's his money. Very, very, very sad. But when you put bullshit out in the air, you must expect the funk to cling. This last one I want to talk about is a sort of a big picture one. It's not one to console you if you're out there, if you're broke, if your bills are past due. I know how that feels. Or if you're leveraged out the asshole in debt. I get it. This is America. Don't catch you sleeping, yo. But it's a very interesting story when you look at things big picture. Since the rise of globalism, since the rise of industrialism and global industrialism around the world, there has been a precipitous decline in extreme poverty. As a matter of fact, yes, since the 1980s, the rate of global poverty has gone almost to 8% of what it once was, and that is phenomenal and amazing, and something that. Even if it isn't particularly solving your exact individual personal problem right now, you should at least know that on a overall level, all around the world, people used to on average be struggling way harder than you are, or think that you are.
Well, yeah, if you ain't lived through the Great Depression.
Yeah, or if you haven't lived in a third world country. If you have never lived in a third world country. But what we're saying is like even in these countries that we traditionally think of as being broke or poor, third world, even there, the rates of extreme poverty are declining. And that's, I'm just saying this globalism shit ain't all bad, whatever these Republicans are shoveling at you. Yeah, think that's it. Think that's the end of the show.
I think so too.
It's super late.
We talked about a lot.
I think we went to a lot of places. Yeah. We already did shout outs.
We did.
So there's nothing left to say, but
let's shout ourselves out. Find us on Facebook. We got a Facebook page. We
Woo,
post a lot on there. We on the gram. Catch us on the gram. We're on Twitter. All of these internets, we can be found at the handle at Woke with Kids.
Woke with Kids.
You can follow me if for some reason you want to see about me waking up to poop on the couch.
Yes.
And changing it.
Fun stuff.
Or rushing to auditions and trying to do my hair. That's basically my life right there.
It's good stuff.
And I'm, excuse me, on the gram at Melissa K, spelled out K-A-Y, Anderson. And I'll be posting info about my play coming up next month and other birthday shenanigans because it's Libra season, y'all. Yeah, that's me.
I'm Yaze. And I don't care if you get at me or not, so find me if you can. All right. Peace, y'all. Till next time. Stay woke.